If it had been my book, we would have been enemies. We would have been fighting. I would have probably been convinced to take the different room, but then I would have made it my mission to make his life fucking impossible.
Hello and welcome to Only Lovers Book Club. We are three Latinx besties reading romance, now from different locations, coming to you from Puerto Rico, Philly, and still in California, but in a different town. So brand new OLL here. But as always, some things never change. We take turns reading romance. We've been doing it. This is what, our 10th year? I don't know. We've been doing this for a really long time. I feel like this year was our 10th anniversary. So this end of 2024 is probably like 10 and a half or something.
I don't know. I have to go back and look. I literally never remember until it's time to remember it. And then I'm like, how long has it been? So I can calculate.
It's been a long time. We've been doing it since 2015, I think.
Oh, so 2025 is our 10 year.
So maybe next year is our 10 year. Oh, we should do. Wait, no, what wasn't? Oh,
no, because we did.
Now I know what it is. This year was our 100th episode.
Yeah.
But next year is our 10-year anniversary, which I've never dated anyone for that long. So you all are my longest relationship. Yay. Anyway, just okay. You can cut that or not. But I'm just excited that we're in new locations. We're gearing up for our 10th anniversary. Exciting things coming up. And so this month was my month to pick, and the book we ended up reading is like the one that I ended up switching was last month's, right? Like my last quarters. I don't even know. I've had to switch books around a lot this year, so I don't know when I picked this book, if it was a recent pick or an OG pick. But I know that when I saw that it was a Latinx romance under the Harlequin imprint, I got really excited. And so, we'll talk about it today, but this is our first Harlequin book as Only Lovers, and that's really exciting. So, on to what we're wearing. Oh, wait, sorry, I'm all over the place. We are reading Scandal in the VIP Suite by Nadine Gonzalez. Probably should have said that before. And then I tried to go a little bit on theme. I wore my shirt called Write On. I have like 4 shirts that are writing themed. People give me a lot of writer shirts and writer mugs, and so I decided to go with one because the main character in this book is a writer. This is what I envision a luxurious Miami hotel pool scene to look like. So that's what I have as my background, because almost the entirety of this book takes place in a hotel because people have money. So that's my background. Chris, what are you wearing? Oh, and I'm drinking apple juice. So Chris, what are you wearing? What's your background? What do you have going on over there?
Hello, Drea Tashai. Hello, friends on the internet. Yes, new era of Only Lovers. We have gone through so many moves together as a book club and as a friendship. I'm like, oh yeah, of course we moved, but it's like, actually, wow, we do that a lot.
Yeah, but this is the first year all 3 of us have moved.
Yeah, all 3 of us have moved in the same year, and I think that at least 2 of y'all are doing the moves that are like you're planting your roots. Like that's where you're planning on staying. Too bad, too late. You already made your choices. You paid that mortgage has your name on it. Time to deal with the reality, baby. Welcome to adulthood. Welcome to homeownership.
I can just run down the street.
Bitch, I'm still renting. I'm not in that bracket. So
I'm still paying that rent too, bitch, until January.
No, it couldn't be me. But anyway, I'm still in sunny California, except it's actually really fucking gloomy here. And I chose a traditional-ish, American holiday attire and background. I have the Google Meet Christmas. The fireplace is going. They've got a luxuriously decorated tree. I'm wearing my Christmas pajamas, which is what Old Navy titled as Cocoa Claus because it's Black Santa. That's not cool, Old Navy, but I think it's very clever and funny. And I'm having coffee. It's the morning here. So I'm having my hug in a mug coffee and waking up literally with you guys. It's extremely the best. I'm not
Yeah,
trying to
now,
pick on
in
you.
case you didn't know, now our opposite ends are 4 hours apart.
Mhm,
So very much mid-afternoon for me and still morning for Chris.
mhm. Anyway, on to Tashai.
It is 150 for me, and my lunch was a hot dog at Costco because it was $1 or something. And I've never had a Costco hot dog before. And we went, and my mother-in-law got us a bunch of stuff. We have paper towels for days now to set up the new house. As was mentioned, I just moved to the city of brotherly love. So I'm about to have to get to know a brand new book scene and find brand new bookstores. And there's a library like 6 minutes walking away from me. So it's bookmarked, Philly Public Library System. Once I get my ID, I'll go register with them. No background right now because I always forget to pick one, but this is gonna be our office. There's a bunch of shit around. There's just containers and things. And I'm having wine because I just moved this weekend. I'm very tired. And we're getting up early as fuck tomorrow because painters are coming in, but celebrating life. And I'm wearing my Slap Ya Mama Cajun Seasoning long sleeve shirt.
I love that seasoning.
It's so good. Oh my God, I love it. I like bought the gigantic jar and I fill my little smaller jar and I'm always just like, so free publicity for Slap Ya Mama.
I need to train people in my house to like Cajun seasoning. I'm the only one here who really enjoys Cajun seasoning or like Cajun spice. And
Because me and Shaka trained you well.
yeah, so no, I now I need to pass on the torch, but neither my partner nor my sister are like really in love with spicier foods. And I'm just like,
It's not that spicy. It's not that spicy.
listen, I know that.
No, I
But-
will say, yeah, living, for those of you who don't know, I moved back home and I'm living with my mother. And she thinks that 1/8 of a teaspoon of black pepper makes food spicy. so I'm, I understand your pain, Chris.
Gosh, but yeah, so that's where we're at. That's where we're at. We're doing good. We're thriving.
Yay. Okay. 2025 is going to be a great year for us and for book club. Manifesting it now. It's going to be great. We're going to read nothing but spectacular romances, and we're all going to have everything go splendidly well.
It's gonna be great. And I'm buying a bathtub tray so that at some point I might just do book club just sitting in a bathtub
Yeah, get sexy.
with a bunch of
That's
food.
very sexy. I approve. I approve. I don't know if that's very sexy, and I approve.
Only love is
Our
better.
views suddenly start going way up on YouTube. Guys are in your bathtub.
That's what we were missing this whole time. Just like the suggestive nudity.
Me with my fucking like wetsuit. I'm just like
Cheers.
Bueno, Chris, can you tell us about the book that we are reading today?
I sure can. Let's go. So this was Scandal in the VIP Suite, Miami Famous #1 by Nadine Gonzalez. So, I'm reading this off of Goodreads. 2 strangers, 1 bed, and a kiss as scorching as the Miami heat. When Nina Taylor peeks into the luxury hotel suite that should have been hers, she's caught by the room's occupant, Julian Knight. The Hollywood bad boy quickly offers a compromise. Why not share? Soon, the paparazzi is jumping to scandalous conclusions, and Julian and Nina share an incredible kiss. Good thing they're only booked for a week, because, boy, is she in trouble. I feel like I read way more than that, though. I feel like that's like a short, and it doesn't like quite capture everything.
But I feel like that's how all the Harlequin descriptions are. I feel like some books are on like giving you away too much, and these books are always like
not enough. Not enough. I wouldn't have picked this up based on that. I read it obviously for book club, but I wouldn't have picked it up. I'm like, well, this doesn't seem that interesting. We'll talk about it. So we'll talk about how interesting it was.
Okay, Tashai, can you tell us about the author? A new to Only Lovers author?
Yes. So this is from her website, NadineGonzalez.com. Maybe we're related. So Nadine Gonzalez is an author and attorney. Her recent contemporary romance, Scandal in the VIP Suite, is published by Harlequin Desires and Mills and Boon. Kirkus Reviews has described her work as a sleek and entertaining contemporary romance that offers vibrant settings, appealing characters, and a sexy and nuanced love story. Nadine lives in Miami and shares her home with her husband and their son. Oh, so she's from Miami.
Yeah, I think all of her Harlequin books are set in Miami.
Ah, right, what you know. Nice.
Bueno, I said before part of the reason I picked this was because it was a Harlequin book. That's definitely part of it. I've also just seen this author around a lot on Bookstagram. I see romance authors talking about her a lot whenever they do like Latinx roundups, and not just Latinx roundups, but like BIPOC roundups and like Afro Latinx roundups and all these things. Like I always see her name come up because there's not that many like brown Latinx romances out there. So I had been meaning to read her for a while. I was intrigued by the fact that it was the Harlequin imprint because we hadn't read anything from them before with Only Lovers. So yeah, that's why I picked it. I also thought it was a short read, and I knew that Tashai and I, well, actually, I don't know when I picked this book. I would like to think Past Me picked a light book for December specifically because I knew moves were coming. I don't know if that was actually the case.
And also, so I can confirm this is one of the, because I'm looking at the like versions of our list.
Okay.
And this book didn't change. Like it never changed. You picked it at the beginning of the year.
Subconsciously,
I know that you picked it. And I remember our conversations was like, oh, I hadn't read a merenguito. Like I feel like we should end the year with a merenguito. And so as your external memory bank, I'm here to confirm that you didn't change it and that you chose it because it was un merenguito, so to speak.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I did. I think we don't, some years we read like more genre romance than others. And I like that we branch out and we read so many different things, but I felt like I wanted like a very traditional kind of like, I would pick this up at a grocery store kind of romance. And that's why I picked it. And I mean, I'll talk a little bit more. One of my questions has to do with it being Harlequin specifically, so I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But as we move to get started, this is, as always, your spoiler warning. If you haven't read the book, go read it. You can read it in like a couple hours. It's very short. Come back and listen to our episode because we will be kind of talking about all the things in depth. Yeah, sorry, I'm like a little today, but that's okay because I think everybody is.
You're doing great. You're doing great. And remember, like if you need a moment, we could pause and like you can pause.
I won't recalibrate. This is just me all day.
Okay, fair enough. Just you're doing great though. I'm not.
Okay, thank you. Well, okay, before we start with my questions, overall impressions. I don't know if anybody has any big things they want to say. I feel like my thoughts about this book are going to be pretty like sweet and simple because it's a sweet and simple kind of book. But as always, feel free to bring up anything that you super liked, didn't like. What were your thoughts?
I thought that I honestly agree that I think this was like one of the best books to finish the year off with because it was very short. It was very to the point. She had a job to do. She had a job she came here to do, and she did it. I think that my expectations going into it, knowing that it was a Harlequin Desire, I was expecting it to be like spicier. And so that was different. But I won't say that I was disappointed. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Expectations managed. I also found it to be like a much sweeter book than I was anticipating. I think, do you know who has kind of like ruined me a little bit for short reads? Adriana Herrera. Her nasty little novellas that when I read like a short novella, I'm expecting it to be nasty, like that level nasty. So I was like buckled up, like double breasted. I was ready to to see the scandal in the VIP suite, and it turned out to like completely subvert that for me, and so I enjoyed it. It was, I won't say that it's not the most memorable read for me. Like it won't be like a book that I'll think of the top of my head as like just like really stood out to me for the whole year. But at this point in the year, at this point in my life, at this point in this morning as we're discussing it together, it was exactly what I needed. So I really enjoyed it. Thank you for picking it. And I would definitely read more from this author, especially now that I know like what to expect. I did have some things that I was like, I took notes on for the purposes of discussion. But other than that, I really liked it. And I would recommend it to someone who is looking for a less spicy, but still short and romantic type of merengue. You know what I mean? So those are my thoughts. I leave it to Tosh to say hers now.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was like a nice, quick, nothing unexpected really happening sort of story. I thought that it was pretty fun. I think I expected there to be much more scandal happening. And I had fun, but I think that I haven't read like a Harlequin romance in so long that I kept expecting things to either be like way more dramatic or have there be like a lot more like sex happening. Yeah. Like I thought
Don't worry, we'll get into that.
yeah, like I thought it was gonna be dirtier. I thought there was gonna be like way more scandal going on. And I think just like for the most part, everyone was just really chill, which I don't know too many people who are like actors, and I definitely don't know anyone who's like famous, but I definitely thought people were gonna be a lot bigger like dicks. And assume that like our main character was just like in it for the money, and like it was like a whole thing. Like for being like a famous actor dude, I thought he was gonna be a lot bigger of an asshole, especially because everyone kept talking about his reputation, and I kept waiting to figure out like what that was supposed to be, to see like what the actual issue was. So like, yeah, it was a good time. Like I enjoyed it. I don't think that I necessarily, once I started getting into it, I'm like, oh, okay, like this isn't, I think, supposed to be any super complicated situation. So then I just like enjoyed myself for what it was. It was a light snack. It was a light snack of a read.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. I think the desire part also threw me off a little bit. I knew it wasn't going to be like an Adriana Herrera novella because there's a reason she self-pubs those. Those are not traditionally published. I feel like it's hard to find.
Oh yeah, man, I'm just saying.
No, but it's good that you brought it up because I think I was having those thoughts before I started reading. Just what in thinking about Harlequin novels, like in general, like for me, when I was growing up, my mom had a bookshelf of her romances and her mysteries, like out in the open, right? Like in her bedroom, and I was allowed to borrow all these books whenever I wanted. But then she also had like a small bookshelf inside her closet that only had Harlequin novels. And it wasn't like hidden, but it was hidden. Like, why weren't these books out with the other books? You know what I mean? And so I would sneak in there all the time to just like read the Harlequin romances. And I never even tried to ask my mom if I could read them because I assumed if they were in the closet, I wasn't supposed to. And so I think in my head, Harlequin romances are way more scandalous because I felt so scandalous at like 14, sneaking into the closet to like read through these books. And so I was curious because I haven't read one, since my childhood. Obviously back then they were all like white American characters as well. And I know they've diversified a lot. So I was excited to read something that was a little bit different from the ones that I read growing up. But I was curious to know, well, if any of you like read any Harlequin romances at any point in your life, and if that affected kind of your expectations going into it. And two, whether you just had like, and we talked about this a little bit in first impressions, but if the fact that it was like Harlequin desire specifically made you have a specific set of expectations. I was just curious because I know I had that background with the books. And so I went into it thinking they were going to be a little more spicy and scandalous as well. But I think that was just like my memory serving me. And also I'm curious, I want to look into like what all the different imprints are as well, because I assume Maybe they have one that's like more than desire. You know, like when you go to Taco Bell and they have like fuego, but fuego isn't the spiciest of the sauces. So
Yeah.
maybe desire, maybe there's something above desire.
So I had pulled up a bookmark because when I started reading this and I kind of was seeing the flow of it, I was like, I think I was having a similar reaction to you or similar expectations. I feel like I have conflated it with other prints that are spicier because my mom didn't have these in her, like, she would read like the dramatic stuff that was also kind of sexy, like the Sydney Sheldon. Remember? I don't know if you remember from Mother's Day way back when. But I know my grandmother did. She had a lot of historicals, my paternal grandmother. She had a lot of historical novels that I was not allowed to read. I could read anything I wanted, but it was by her bedside table. And of course, I wasn't able to read it. But I mean, again, I also snuck in there and read it. And those books were spicy, but they were like bodice rippers. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I got curious because I'm like, wait a minute, am I misremembering something? And I pulled up like the Harlequin, backstory, whatever. So Harlequin romance, according to like their definition of like what this imprint like specifically represents, is relatable whisk me away romances. They're all about the heroine. You as a reader want to be in her shoes. As she experiences the rush of falling in love, it's emotional without being small town or family focused. And these feel good stories are entertaining with a low heat level. And I was like, okay. So I read the story and I read the title and I let myself kind of literally be like, whoa, okay, this is going to be scandalous. But like, now that I know, I feel like, okay, I get it. I feel like, okay, I got it. Like based on our history of reading Harlequin desire, I would have been like, ooh, but I guess we were just not wrong, but we're maybe conflating it with other short, spicy books that our parents or guardians used to read when we were younger. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was going to be like dirty, but I guess maybe there's a secret Harlequin imprint that's like Harlequin stank nasty, and then those are the ones that'll be like all penetration all the time.
Okay, no, I did just Google Harlequin spicy, and there is a spice.
All right,
let's look for one of those.
all right, give me 1 second. It's hot as fuck in this office. I need to
open a window.
Yeah, I think Harlequin just has so many different, like, I think they've expanded so much, since back in the day, that makes sense that they would have like kind of everything. Because I'm just like looking at their website now and it's like Harlequin intrigue and Harlequin romance and Harlequin desire. And
I feel like we should like, do a little research or deep dive into,
oh my god, like those videos you watch on YouTube,
where it's like what each one is for my own benefit, like truly just to know what's what, because I know that there's like spicier stuff, but I would assume desire would be one of them, but who knows, maybe it's something different.
To be fair, I do think there's a lot of people who would consider this spicy. It's we read a lot of spicy-er stuff.
The people who think that black pepper is spicy, that's what this is for. This is for them.
Yes.
For people who eat things with habanero in it, sometimes. Not so much.
That is so funny how that Cajun spice, Cajun and pepper conversation came full circle.
The slap your mama eaters want to see some actual slapping of the mama.
Yes.
Harlequin slap your mama edition.
Yes. Ooh, okay.
All right. I'm back. The thermostat was set to 70 degrees.
Oh dear. Drea, did we answer your question?
I still need to answer.
Yeah, we interrupted her.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm deeply sorry, but okay.
No, you didn't interrupt. I was having a hot flash, so it's okay. I have not read Harlequin before. I didn't really read. I feel like when I read romance, it was like accidentally reading romances because I was more just like trying to read fantasy or like fiction or sci-fi, and like maybe people would bang and I would be like, oh, okay, like that's happening, cool. Like reading Planet of the Cave Bear, and then they're doing it, or reading like Mist of Avalon, and they're doing
The
it,
amount
or
of
Wicked,
time,
and they're doing it.
the amount of times these books have come up in our hangouts, I really need to just read it, and we can do like a bonus episode where, like, do you know what, Chris? You remember when you used to do those Nostalgia Pal episodes? It'd be like me reading the bear book, and then Tashai like rereading it, and then we like.
No, I already know what the Nostalgia Pals, the Only Lovers version is going to be. We'll read. We can't read Kind of the Cave Bear. That book is too sad.
Big, and it's very
it's really big and it's very sad, but it's like very formative to me as a reader. Those are some of the books that my grandma had. And it's funny because like I felt like the series had a lot of explicit sex in it, but because it was prehistory, it didn't, like, I feel like she didn't, it was more educational. So if we were to read something from the Earth's Children series, it would have to be the Valley of the Horses. That's the one that's like we were like eating that shit up in middle school and high school. It was so good. And then I think maybe for Tashai's book would be Blood and Chocolate. It would be like, oh, we need to go back to the original Blood and Chocolate walk so that Twilight could fucking run off of a cliff.
And again, I'm like, ooh, werewolves, cool. And then they're doing it. And I was like,
oh.
Okay, but I want to read I want to share these memories with you.
Yes, and so you have to pick, like, we'll do a Nostalgia Pals like round table, and yeah, but definitely those are the books. Those like books that we read as kids that we thought were like ultimately spicy and actually are spicier than.
I feel like I could get those books for like really cheap online.
At the used bookstore. Yes, absolutely.
For sure. I think that's my, like, as far as romance or like any sort of like smut reading, it was very accidental. And then it was like, oh, wow, I actually like enjoy reading. Oh, okay. And then Chris was like, bad influence on me and was like, read these books. When you get to like this section of the book, we'll talk about it tomorrow. And I'd be like, okay. And she's like, I left a note for you in the margin in pencil. And we'd be like,
yes, that's how we would share books, and we would have like little notes in the margins, and that's how we'd like. It was like before Messenger, before chat, before we were like on AOL or whatever. Like that was our like long distance chat. And then, okay, bitch, call me when you're done and we'll talk about it like late at night.
I love that.
So that is my answer. Nah, I only started reading Sucio once I was like in college. Then it's like, oh, okay, there's like a section dedicated for this. Cool. Christina, did you know?
yes, I did know.
No, I love it. I love it though. I love that your first experience with a Harlequin book was in the safety of Only Lovers. Bueno, okay, so we went into kind of a deep dive there into Harlequin. Maybe people, I don't know, leave a comment if you were also a Harlequin reader and you have memories attached to these books, or if you have recommendations for like the extra spicy Harlequins that we don't know about. So let us know, please. But moving on to this book specifically, I was curious how you all felt about the romantic like setup with the sharing the hotel room. I feel like we've read books before where they've had to share a room or share a bed for whatever reason. And I was just curious, one, if you were able to like suspend disbelief and this like scenario worked for you. But two, if you ever found yourself in that sort of situation, what would you have done? Would you actually have shared this luxurious penthouse, or would you have gone somewhere else?
Okay. So the entire time that I'm reading this, I'm imagining El Conquistador. I don't know why. I don't live a really like luxurious life or whatever. Like I've never been to a really fancy hotel. And so for me, like that's what I'm picturing. And I don't even know what the fanciest room in a gonki looks like, but that's like I lived in right next door to it. So it was just where we would sneak into the pool at night, and it was really fun. And that's like, and my mind goes there first before it goes to like Embassy Suites or Hyatt's or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's what I imagine. I feel like I would have kicked up more of a fuss. Like I understood why like she didn't, because he was hot. Like so obviously she's not gonna, like, the story needs to happen. There's only one bed. I'm very down for it. If our places have been traded and this was a story happening in my real life, I would have absolutely kicked up more of a fuss. And I feel like the book is sort of like there's only one bed and also enemies to lovers, but I don't feel like they were like truly enemies. If it had been my book, we would have been enemies. We would have been fighting. I would have probably been convinced to take the different room, but then I would have made it my mission to make his life fucking impossible. Like I would just be like pranking him and like leaving shit like so he would trip on it, like I would just... But for the purposes of the romance, this worked very well for me, and I'm really glad that they did. I also want to mention, I feel like, will we talk about the characters specifically later? Okay, cool. Because I actually felt okay with it because he was not an asshole. And I guess we could talk about that more. I feel like I've been burned by the past couple of books with these like men, right? So I was like, all right, I don't know about this. And then I was like, you know what? It's fine. He seems fine. This is great. And so that's where I stood. I let myself get swept away while also in my mind imagining myself being a little gremlin about it in real life.
I would have been like, this is my room. So either you need to leave or I'm staying in this room and we're figuring something out. They're bringing in an extra bed because the suite is big enough. I'm not sleeping on a fucking cot. I'm not sleeping on a futon. I'm not sleeping on a full like pull-out mattress. My mom's dead. You just decided to fucking stay here because you felt like fucking staying here? No, like, fuck you. If arrangements aren't made, I want all of my money back. I'm staying here for free and I'm going to make it. I'm going on the news about how this establishment decided to kick out a Latina woman who was mourning the death of her mother in favor of a misogynistic fucking celebrity who decided to fucking come here last minute. I would have been racking up that, like, the room service bill. I would have been getting spa packages. We would not have fallen in love because he would have been annoyed at the amount of stuff that I was putting on his tab. I probably also would have tried to hook up with him after a couple bottles of room service wine. But before that, I would have been getting my room service oysters, my room service mani-pedi, my room service massage. I would have been like, is there a room service therapist so that I can work through the trauma of losing my parent? Like, I would have just been like, where else? And I would have been snooping. I would have been snooping through all his shit. As soon as he was gone, I would have been going through his suitcases. I would have been taking notes to publish some sort of book at some point. After we like got to know each other, then like, okay, fine, I'll sign a non-disclosure agreement, but I'm having my friend lawyer look at this first because I do want to be able to write about my own life. Like, he'd have been like, this chick's a bitch. Get me another room.
I love that. I love that both of you had kind of a similar reaction. Whereas me, I would have been like, this is like all the romance books I read. But no, I agree with what you said, Chris, that I think it was pitched kind of as like a not necessarily as an enemies to lovers, but like, ooh, it would be so scandalous for like this to happen. And I'm like, neither of them are married. Neither of them are even in relationships. Like they're both like single, attractive, solo adults, so it didn't like feel like that much of a scandal. And it also in the beginning didn't feel like there's only one bed because she was in like a separate room. So I don't think it delivered specifically on like those tropes that I think, people are really into, but I understand why the author did that and made it a little bit more like everybody's respectful and everybody has their own space. But yeah, no, I think like I had to suspend my disbelief a little bit because everything just seemed to be working out like, and not just in this, but like in the book in general, it's like, wouldn't we all just love to like happen to be sharing a room with a man who can make all of your professional and romantic dreams come true? Like, okay, perfect. And he's fucking rich. Yeah, I had to suspend my disbelief a little bit, but I did enjoy it. I knew what I was getting into. Like I knew it was like a merenguito type romance. So I was okay with that. I feel like the setup wasn't meant to be like super realistic. These are not like normal people with normal lives.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did want to talk about the characters a little bit more. How you felt about the two leads individually. but also how you felt about the relationship itself and whether you shipped them. I thought everything happened pretty fast. Like, I wouldn't say it was like an insta love kind of thing, but it was definitely like an insta lust kind of thing. And even the love kind of felt very fast too, because they were just like kind of skipping. I knew weeks and months were going by, you know what I mean? But it didn't feel like that. So it did feel like pretty fast. And so I was wondering, yeah, how you felt about the characters, their relationship. And then we've talked a little bit about the lack of steam, but how did you feel about the sexy scenes that did exist, both in real time and in her diary? Because I mean, that was an interesting choice, but I felt like some of the steam was in diary format versus in real life, which I didn't love, but maybe you guys did. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
I absolutely did not love that. I was because I was like, not someone writing smut based on like what we literally just did. Mortifying. If any of my lovers have done this, you better pray to fucking God that I never find it, because we're gonna have a fucking problem. I'm coming to you. One of them is living in New Zealand right now. Why do I know? They keep trying to add me on Facebook. Stop it. Stop it. And also, don't be writing shit. Anyway, so I thought that was an interesting choice. We can get into that later because I had like feelings about that. But ultimately, so it's funny because I actually really enjoyed both of the characters. For a short amount of book, I really felt like the author did a great job of telling me exactly who these people were, what they were trying to accomplish, and they pretty much stayed true to that in the least annoying way possible. I didn't feel like they were like overly flawed, you know, like they had just too much shit going on. It was very straightforward, and they had like relatable, realistic problems that they could like very effectively work on. And so I felt very good about them ending up together. This might mark the first rich man in a romance novel that I approve of, where I was like, I was also expecting him to be very much on the vibe of like whatever the fuck that guy's name is from that one Adriana Herrera book. I don't know. She might have a type. I don't know. I'm just saying, guy's a fucking asshole. And I feel like it's just very prevalent for romantic heroes to be kind of like bullies, and people find that really sexy. I don't. It's just not my preference. And so I found this guy to be just enough of a sarcastic, funny person without hurting the main character's feelings. That's literally all I want. I just don't want him to hurt her feelings or make her feel like small. So he was very nice. He was very funny. He seemed witty, and he had money, but he wasn't like an enemy of the people. Like, he's not on my list for like the romance hero guillotine. So we're good. I liked both of them. I thought that their chemistry was really good too. I found myself rooting for them, and I found it whenever they had their little blow up, I felt like it made sense because of the short amount of time that they had spent together. So I felt like it was reasonable for them to have a miscommunication and misunderstanding because of that. They just hadn't been with each other as people. They were with each other like as hot, sexy new lovers, but like the real problems of the world hadn't like caught up to them. And so it made sense to me that they would have a fight about that, because they might have strong feelings for each other, but they don't know each other that well. You know what I mean? And I guess also when you're someone of status, you know, monetarily and like visible to the public, you know, it's those things might be different for you. Those expectations of like privacy and what people are sharing about you, what people are writing about you, you might be more sensitive to it than someone who might not necessarily be quite as visible, even though she was a writer. So all in all, I enjoyed both of them. I liked that she wasn't like a total idiot klutz either. You know, she had like her mental health and she had her anxieties, but ultimately she seemed like a pretty cool chick. I was rooting for both of them. So that's my thoughts.
I agree. I kept waiting to like for the the shoe to drop on him being a former bad person, and I kept waiting to find out why he was on people's shit list. And I feel like if we had gotten actual details other than like he was in a movie with his fiance and they cut all her scenes and therefore he hates women, like if that was the majority of what happened, then it's like he wasn't the editor of the movie. Like, yeah, he might be the star, but there's like producers and there's all these other people who make the decisions. It's like, I don't get to decide what copy I write in my job. The client does. It works the same way across every job anybody has. Even if you're a multi-million-dollar actor who's like funding the project, you don't get to decide things. So, because I didn't have that context, I'm like, all right, so he seems like a nice dude who didn't have money, and then he has money and he takes care of his like family friend, and tries to respect and work with people, and is like trying to pivot to something that's more meaningful. And then she seemed fine too. I thought she was pretty funny. I liked the chemistry. I thought that it was like funny and witty without relying on like cliches, and like, yeah, the pool scene didn't seem not plausible because she had had a bunch of drinks and was like trying to party and was trying to enjoy this party, and like, I've jello shots,
Exactly.
the free
That's
shots.
why. Yeah, that's why I was saying I'm glad she wasn't clumsy. And the one time that she was clumsy, it was because she was like inebriated. So it
Yeah,
made sense. It connected for me.
like, would happen to me. I see that happening. Circa, 2000, whatever, Christina and me falling in the hole in the beach. These things happen. I believe that to be true. And her like reasoning for being there, struggling to move past like this memoir thing that she's known for, the struggle of being known for kind of writing about your family, like those personal conflicts she was going through. I totally understood that. And I liked how they spoke to each other about those like issues. I like that they became friends and were getting to know each other as people. And I think the circumstances are the only reason they were able to do that, is because when else are you going to be with a complete stranger who you think is super hot? And it's like, okay, like, yeah, why not just be super honest about all the shit that's happened to me and I have going on? So I thought that was nice. I liked the relationship. I do think the big bursts of time made it a little hard to follow, because they were like in this hotel room and then suddenly they're working on a movie together. And movies can take anywhere from like 4 months to like a year to do. So then I'm like, it's an action adventure thrill like movie. How expensive is it? How long is this taking to make? Because then it's like, okay, people are gonna know they're dating. Like, do people know that they're boyfriend and girlfriend? I don't understand like how public they are, but people need to know, like, especially if you're working on a multi-million-dollar movie, there's your HR. There's like HR involved. People need to know, like, that all has to be documented. So I thought that part of it was pretty funny. Me trying to figure out like how are people concerned about this? But I thought that was fun, and I knew there was gonna be, as soon as she started writing those journal entries with the sexy scenes, I'm like, someone's gonna find this.
My
Like, you don't
God,
even
I don't know why. I don't know why she wasn't more worried about not being able to find it. I would have lost my fucking mind if I
and
couldn't find the journal where I was writing the spicy romance version of who I just fucked the night before.
and it's just laying around. She just leaves the journal laying around. It never like got brought up that she had misplaced her journal or was looking for it. That happened off screen until it already gets revealed. And I'm like, yo, it would have made more sense if she was like jotting things down on her phone or something, and then someone stole her phone and hacked into her cloud or whatever. But you're leaving your fucking notebook lying around. And also the guy ripped a couple pages and then threw the notebook in the bushes. Really? That's not how that would happen.
Yeah.
That entire thing would have ended up on the pay to access Google Drive. Like,
Exactly.
come on,
Exactly.
don't fucking start with me. So I thought that was pretty funny. And honestly, if I were him, I would have been pissed because of how dumb she was for writing it and for not saying anything about it and not putting it in the hotel lockbox. So I also would have been really pissed off at that. And I don't know that I would have forgiven it as easily, just because at that point it's like, wow, you're really hot, but you're kind of dumb. I don't think I realized how dumb you were until this all went down. I need to think about this.
He's too busy staring at her tits, What can I say?
He was too busy. He was too busy looking at her fantastic butt as she went up the stairs. But I thought it was fun. I liked the relationship. I thought it was sexy. I wish there had been more sex. And I wouldn't be recounting my sexual escapades with such a erotica tone to them if I'm journaling, but that's just the way that I would journal. Like, I wouldn't be like, he ran his fingertips across the like curve of my back, and as the sun tilted, blah blah blah. I'd be like, wow, his dick is way big. No idea. Didn't choke though. LOL. Hashtag win. Like, yay.
Let's go,
So,
throat goat.
yeah, exactly. Glug glug. Hey. Like, that's why I
mean,
wouldn't be a best-selling erotica writer
you
in
never know.
that
There's still
universe.
time. There's still time.
There's still
It
time.
just
No,
seemed like
I thought the same thing because I feel like her excuse was like, oh, I've always journaled and I wouldn't know what to do if I wasn't like processing my things or whatever. And I'm
but
like,
it felt very main character. It felt very like, who thinks as cinematically as this?
It's
At least,
with the expectation of being read. And that's why I'm like, this journaling doesn't feel real.
yeah, it didn't feel
Because
real.
it's being read as if I expect someone to read this someday. And that's why when it gets published, people are like, "Oh my god!" And that's why
She's
it's
She's
like,
working on a
she did it for
book.
the money. Like she did this to have something to write about, because otherwise,
yeah,
it's
the
like,
only way I think it would have worked for me is if this was a different kind of book with like a lot more erotic scenes. And maybe she like writes it down so that she can read it herself later.
yeah,
You know?
like,
And
it's so hot. I don't want to forget that this is
exactly. And I
That
think
was fucking crazy.
that would have made more sense to me, but I didn't get the feeling that that's why she was doing it. It felt more like she just wanted to document everything. And I don't know. Yeah, it was it was a little weird, but I agree with all of you that I thought Julian was like, he was like a fake bad boy, you know, because also the author makes such a point of like, yeah, and he rescues kitties and he's friends with the nanny next door and he like buys flowers for his, you know, he's like so nice to everybody, but like someone said something bad about him on the internet and now his reputation is ruined. And I don't think it quite works like that. Yeah.
I will say that while I did not hate Julian, I do feel like he gets so much of a pass because of these random things. And I don't know if it's just a me thing. This doesn't necessarily have, maybe it's a short book and I might need to like go back and reread. I did buy this book. Okay. So like, don't come for me. I felt like it was interesting. I'll just say it this way. I thought that it was interesting that Julian gets a lot of passes for things that are systematically, you know, like societally his fault. Or that he gets blamed for things that are wrong in our society. Like he gets kind of like caught up in more, not in a Me Too thing, but like in a cancellation because, you know, unfairness to the women in his life. And yeah, he was definitely like a fake bad boy. However, I do feel like the author treated the lady characters in a kind of like a different way than Julian, who is supposed to be a more problematic character. And one of the ways that I noticed this is that whenever we're meeting someone who is a significant like person in the plot, and I made a note of it because I was like, wow, this is so detailed. Like for me, whenever, maybe it's because I'm not like as nosy as like other people are, and this is not to say that you are nosy, but I guess I feel stressed about people kind of like looking me up and down and like detailing every single thing that looks good or right or wrong or whatever about me. So I find it like weird and like it kind of takes me out of a story whenever a character is introduced and the main character makes sure to clock every single thing that person is wearing, like boots, pants, this or whatever. Every time a woman was described in a similar way, where the female main character is describing her first encounter with another female character, they would be described from top to bottom, and there would always be something wrong with what they were wearing. Oh, the shade is a little bit too dark, but other than that, she's perfect. Oh, this is wrong, but other than that, she was really hot. And I don't feel like any of the guys, the older guy who was going to do the directing, Julian Knight himself, these people were gods. There's nothing wrong with them. When the main character, the female main character, is encountering these guys, she looks at them from top to bottom and finds nothing wrong with them. And I was like, huh, okay, makes a mental
Yeah,
note.
I was reading it as like, this girl is like closeted bisexual, has no idea, because she kept making comments about the women too that I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Like, oh, it felt very much like, oh, I support women with all of their flaws, but I'm going to bring up every single one that I notice, as opposed to here's a guy who, to all outward appearances, is a bad guy, but it turns out he's good, and there's actually nothing wrong here, neither personality wise or like physically. And so I just think that it's interesting to read
yeah,
it and find it different.
in my head, she just had to find the flaws so that she wouldn't hook up with them too.
Right.
Because there was like a scene where like the hotel manager like
In the garden.
her. Yeah. And she's
Loaded.
like, "Yeah, let me
Loaded
look away
scene.
from all
I
of
was
you."
convinced that she was going to hook up with the hotel manager at some point, or the hotel manager was going to be queer and make a move on her. And I was like, because the way she kept describing her was like
Yes.
very into her, like, very into her.
Yeah, I felt like I was like, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but also I feel like I'm not crazy. Every single girl had like a really detailed description. And I was either like, we're being extra critical about the girls, or there might be something else going on. And so since nothing else was going on, I'm like, okay, I guess we're just being extra critical, which is something that I will look out for in future books that I read from the author. It's not like it's a bad thing. It's just a noticeable thing. And sometimes internal biases come out this way, where you might see other women as like, don't want to see them as competition. You don't want that to be the impression of you. So you're like, no, I love them, flaws and all, but then forget to mention the flaws in the men as well. And so that's just
Meanwhile,
a little note for myself.
I definitely have an opposite approach. To me, every man is disgusting immediately. Even if they're really hot, it's like, oh yeah, they're super hot. And then it's like, And then with women, even if I don't necessarily immediately clock them as like I'm physically attracted to them, it is not hard for me to be like, oh, everybody's beautiful in their own way. Like that's something I've been trying to get not better at. I've been trying to embrace that everybody is beautiful in their own way because everyone is interesting in their own way. And I think that I wish that that's an approach we would get more in books. Like, oh, upon first seeing somebody, maybe they don't check your attraction box immediately, but there is literally, for basically everybody, you can find something that you think is attractive in a person, no matter who they are. So I don't know. I didn't notice that when I was reading it, Chris, but now that you're mentioning, I'm like, yo, that's true. There was a lot of digging into like all of the female characters. And it did feel like maybe the book was trying to set it up so that you could think that like anybody could be competition because he's supposed to be this playboy guy character who's like attracted and like breaking hearts all over the place. But then she's supposed to see that like, no, he's actually a nice guy and he sees beyond that with everybody. And the dudes are just dudes. The dudes don't matter. The dudes aren't important to the plot because she's not going to hook up with anybody other than him because he's the main love interest. But yeah. I think that's a good thing.
I like that. I like what you're saying. And I hope that some of my books may deliver that next year because, maybe you never thought you could be attracted to a spider, but then you find that they're beautiful in their own way.
Yeah, exactly. The question shouldn't be, it should be more around the, well, why wouldn't you be? Like, not the why would you? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's 2025. Get with the program. Spiders are sexy. Okay.
Yeah. They have so many arms. They can help so much. They can carry the physical and emotional weight to help you lighten your load.
I love that. Okay, well, I only have 2 more questions left. One, we touched a little bit on their breakup. I also thought it was predictable, but it was realistic. Like, obviously, I saw it coming because she was out here writing smut in her novel, and she kept saying that she was Peter, so I knew it was gonna be Peter, But I was curious what you all thought because we haven't mentioned it about the like grand gesture part where they make up, because I feel like we have discussed this in a lot of romances, and I feel like usually we're haters. We're like, this is not enough of a grand gesture, whatever. Anyway, so I was curious. This is a very public one. I was curious if you liked it, if you didn't like it.
A public proposal? Girl. No.
And a public proposal after you haven't even spoken for months.
Exactly. That was just very strange to me. Like, I felt like, obviously, but I was like, this book needs to end. If this is how she wants to end it, fine, you know?
I thought it was so funny because she's like, if he gets down on one knee, I'm gonna hit him. And then he gets down on one knee.
He doesn't, and she doesn't. Yes. I thought that was funny though, because I felt like it was very much like it was very much like this is what I'm thinking, or
as I say, not as I do.
Yes, do as I say, not as I do. Or it's like in her heart, she was like, I'm gonna be stronger. But like that's what she wanted. And I thought that was funny. That's how it read to me, personally. I'm not a big fan of the grand gesture, but again, I felt like, okay, this book has to end, and this is what this character needs, and so I'm just gonna support her, and that's fine. I don't feel like his apology was good. I did love it. Okay, here's the thing. I did love that they broke up that way, and I liked that he went back to talk to her and he didn't apologize. And so afterwards, when she's talking to her friend about it, her friend was like, oh, he doesn't get it. Like, he doesn't understand like what he did wrong. And I'm like, yes, because I didn't want her friend to make excuses, you know, like, oh, maybe this, maybe that, you know, like maybe you're expecting too much. I feel like it's not hard to take a step back and maybe figure out what you did wrong, or listen to someone tell you what you did wrong and be like, I own up to that. I am sorry. He apologized, but it was for the wrong thing and it didn't satisfy the requirements. She doesn't need to over explain it. And I like that that's how they parted ways. What I wish had happened was, yes, that they had talked at least before the premiere. So that way he could be like, I am sorry about these specific things. And then she'd be like, okay, thank you, like, cool. And then he proposed. I feel like that's the only piece that I was missing. Because if you're going to go out of your way to be like, he doesn't get it. And to me, it didn't feel like he got it. It was just like, because of the grand gesture, it kind of like erased everything else.
And he made it seem like, well, no, she put out a statement. So now this is my statement. And I'm like, whoa, nowhere in her statement did she say she loved you. She wanted a relationship with you. So it was like very different. What'd you think, Tosh?
So, as someone who did get proposed to in a public place, you have to be in that place in your relationship for that to work out and not be like a big fuck up. And it depends on where, because again, okay, I'm gonna backtrack. Immediate reaction. This is the movie premiere. There are hundreds of people who were involved in getting this project off the ground, and then you force everyone to sit through some like slideshow of this woman who most of them do not know, who they have probably never talked to, because she was the script supervisor, basically. She like helped write the script of it. I would have been pissed. I would have been like, yo, there's a dinner after this. What? Can we leave? Like, I want to eat. Why are we all sitting here? Like, this is why I couldn't bring a +1? Because you're apologizing to your girlfriend? Like, what the fuck? I couldn't even bring my girlfriend to this. So the fact that he like tacked on her apology to the end of this like premiere situation thing, I'm like, bro, like, no, because now you're putting her in a position where like she has to forgive you, even if that's not necessarily what was in her heart. What if she did need to talk through things with him for a little while longer and like figure stuff out? Now she's in a position where if like she says no, then she's a callous bitch, and that's not fair. I don't think that's fair at all. Then the apology itself, fine, whatever. Okay, it is what it is. Cool. But then to tack on the proposal on top of that, after not speaking for months, that to me was like, man, men are dumb. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because yeah, that I didn't love that either. Because, and I think it's interesting because across the spectrum of like our relationships, we've all had very like different scenarios happening with like our partners. There was like a friend event, then there was like a kind of public space, but a private public space, and then there was like a public situation, but we had like had conversations before, and I was like, oh yeah, if anybody did something in public with like a bunch of people I didn't know in a super dramatic way, I would have feelings about it. But it's like appropriate to each person. So I don't know. I don't know if the fact that she had just said, if he proposes to me, I'm gonna be fucking pissed. And then he did do it, tacked on right at the very end of that paragraph. I was like, what? What? So I thought, I don't know. That those are my thoughts about that situation. But I thought the fight made sense. I thought the breakup made sense. I thought all of it was like perfectly logical. I thought her friend being like, oh, he doesn't get it. That's 10 out of 10. Yeah. The amount of times that I had
Yeah, I think what I realized with this book is that we've seen a lot of different kinds of grand gestures, and some have been very public, but also anonymous, if that makes sense. Like I think I like it better when they do something really big for the main character, and it can be public, but only she knows it's coming from that person. You know, like when they fucking buy you an art gallery, or you know what I mean, like shit like that. So, but I don't know how that would have necessarily worked like in this scenario. So I understand why it went that way, and why, because there's so much in the public eye. I understand that he wanted to like clear the air in the public eye also. But yes, I would have hated to be put in that position in front of so many reporters and in front of so many people. And then I couldn't even have like a private facial reaction, you know, because people would have been looking at me. Would not have liked that. Also, like, going back to the statement, she sent him a draft of the statement before it was published. She did not get like a heads up, you know what I mean? So she
I was gonna say, like, I was gonna ask, what did you think about the statement that she posted on her blog? Like, what?
That was stupid. That was such a bad statement.
It was a terrible statement.
It was like we had feelings, and then whatever, and like maybe I'll talk about it, and maybe I'm like, this is
No, my reaction was like, why would you post this?
Why would you post it? But also, there's something specific that happens when we read a book where a character is a writer. Don't just tell me they're a great writer. Don't write something and then try to convince me that that's great writing. Because whatever you tell me, if you're telling me that they are like amazing, oh my God, this memoir, wow, and then I see something like that, and I'm like, this isn't good. This would
her diary entries were better.
Like, you know what my problem was? Is I was expecting. Do you remember when like the whole Chanel Miller thing came out, and she put out this like really like piercing? I thought it was gonna be something like that. I think it was gonna be like, you don't like, this is a violation, and this. Like, I thought that was the direction it was going, and so I was really surprised at how like.
Exactly. Like
it was, you know what I mean?
It had been something like, oh, like my mother lived through all of this performance her whole life, and I tried to tell her story, and it never felt like that was the right move, and now my life is being turned into this performance that I didn't consent to, like something like that.
I feel like if it had been too harsh, though, like there would be like, it would be hard for the, like, I thought it was stupid, and I was like, girl, some things just stay in your journal. That was my reaction. I was like, some things can stay private. It's fine. Like, we live in an age of social media, but like, this could be private. I felt like story-wise, it couldn't be too cutting, because we obviously needed to have some believability of like, you know, that they would be reconciling at the end. I feel like if it had been what probably any of us would have written, publicly or privately, which was like a big fuck you, not only to this guy who hurt my feelings, but to the entire industry who made our business public. You know what I mean? If
I would be like, the entertainment industry operates off the blood and back of violated women.
So I feel like I did not love it, but I understood like structurally maybe why it couldn't be so scathing, why it was a very wet blanket of a statement. And that's because she needed to end up with this man. I mean, it would have been great if, how funny would it have been? This would never have happened. But she sends out a scathing review, right? Or a scathing blog about their time together. And then he shows up and he proposes, but then like Grace from the hotel is there and she's like, whatever. Like, you know, like, thanks, I guess, but I've moved on. And then she just like comes out and is with Grace now and not Julian.
She gets in Grace's car and they leave before she like doesn't even react. She's just like looks around. Grace is in the back with her keys and she's just like, and they drive away. And then after the fact, then they have a conversation about it. Here's the thing. I picture Grace. Did you guys see White Lotus?
Yes.
Okay, so the hotel lady, the Italian hotel lady from White Lotus.
Ooh, yes.
That's who I picture her looking like.
Okay. I almost thought you were gonna say Jennifer Coolidge.
No.
That would have painted those scenes very differently, but not any less gay, to be honest. Not any less gay.
Yeah.
Okay, but speaking of actors, I only have one question left. And this is just like for fun. Because we're all writers in this group, I was curious, like, what actor of any gender would you 100% want to write a script with if asked / have a passionate love affair at a hotel with?
Oh my god!
Like if there was an actor who was gonna like boost your career and bring you into the script writing world, but that you would also actually be tempted to share a hotel room with.
Who am I thinking about? I don't know if they write anything. The person that I'm thinking about is Lily Gladstone. I have a huge crush on them. I love them as an actor, and I think that they're very sweet and kind. And I don't know them personally, but that's my headcanon. And if I was going to get stuck in a hotel room, I just feel like we would both really enjoy being in like a lovely sexual lap of luxury. And also working on something creatively. That's what I'm thinking about, like right here in this moment. I'm sure Tashai has like a hotter pick or whatever, like, but you go for it.
I knew you were gonna say that. I don't know why I was so bothered thinking you might be someone new.
Okay, but if you're watching, Tashai just showed us a picture of Stanley Tucci on her phone. Of course, it was the Tooch.
It's gonna be the Tooch. He's just. I have a book he wrote. He has like he has a book about his Italian family and their heritage, and there's recipes in it, and I have it and I haven't read it, but he's so charming and he's just so talented and he's so handsome, and I could watch him make cocktails all day, and he just is he's a lady lover. And I just, if we had to share a hotel room, I would not say no. Also, Andrea, this is the actress from the White Lotus show.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
Because this lady dresses like to the nines and is a very like rigid, strict character in the show for the most part. And is very gay and is just bellissimo. But those are that would be my top pick, because right now there's actors that I think are like good looking, but I don't necessarily think I could like have a conversation with. And I think that's like a really big thing is I can think you're really good looking, but I don't want you to touch me. Like if we can't talk, if I can't like say something awkward or like be mean or like be super smart, because I'm a really smart person. If you can't like talk to me about stuff, then
I feel like I could have a conversation with both Stanley Tucci and Lily Gladstone. Like these are the two. Exactly. I think these are good, like hotel fancy conquistador suite possibilities.
Like 1,000%. Or Bad Bunny, because Bad Bunny baby, I stan. Or Damiano from that one band, the one Italian guy. But that's a band. That's not an actor, so never mind.
Band. I didn't say any because in my mind I think I went immediately with a singer or celebrity, but I tried to go with an actor. Or, you know, whatever. Okay, Drea, but what about you?
He's been in 2 to 3 movies. He's working on more projects. Once he's got a couple more movies under his belt. Benito, if you see this, if we put some key search terms when this gets posted, like I'm married, but Ivan and I have an understanding. He thinks you're hot too. We could
Mira que
Who's teaching to dance?
I'm in a
Please
short
good job.
story anthology that keeps getting pushed back, but supposedly it's coming out next year. And I have a short story that's all about Bad Bunny in there. And I just need someone to like give it to him, have him read it, and then shout me out because I know that's all it would take. And then
Can I get a tiny shout out for helping you pick songs? Can I get a tiny shout out? I'm not interested in having sex with Bad Bunny.
I mean, I don't have acknowledgments in this book because it's an anthology, but I will be shouting you out on my social media when
Yay! It was fun.
this book happens and I post it.
I really want the book to happen.
Do you know how frustrating it is? He keeps being in PR when I'm not in PR, and then I go to PR and he's not there, and I'm trying to use like architectural markers in the background of where he's hanging out to be like, next time we go, Ivan, we're gonna go hang out in this fucking neighborhood because maybe we'll run into him.
I love it.
Wait, Drea, now it's your turn.
Oh yeah, so I'm obsessed with Wicked in all shapes and forms, book, musical, movie. So I would pick Cynthia Erivo, who's Elphaba in the movie version. I think she's a great actress. She's a great singer. I love her little bald head. And
by gravity.
And I also think I would be a little scared of her, so I wouldn't fight back on the sharing the hotel thing if she said so, because I'd be like a little scared in a good way, in a sexy way, but I would just be scared. So I'd stay.
I get that. Although Jonathan Bailey, though.
Guys, I can't, but here's the thing. Like, anytime like I watch the show, anytime I watch a movie, I cannot reconcile the Fiyero from the book and like whatever they're trying to do with Fiyero from the movie / show. Like those two things. Like
the book is nothing like the show, so I just
of course. But I feel like they take great pains to like at least follow some of the structure of like Elphaba and Glenda's story. But like Fiyero is a guy cheating on his wife.
Fighter.
He's like a exile, you know,
he's like setting cars on fire, bombing cities. He's like a what's it called, like anarchist.
He's a hot anarchist, yes, but like
he's a hot anarchist who's like tortured. And then Jonathan Bailey's like, we're gonna dance our way through our lives.
I just don't see it. I cannot see it.
But Jonathan Bailey's hot, so
yeah, I think that's a good pick, Drea. I think all our picks make sense. I do think that, in my opinion, I think Lily Gladstone would be very reasonable, would try to be like, you know, really whatever. I feel like it would work out. And we would
these, hopefully they're all in the same hotel. We all three booked rooms. All of the rooms get fucked up because this guy running the hotel's a stoner. We all get paired with different celebrities. All the celebrities are super chill. We're like, hey, why not?
It feels so much like this fan fiction is.
Our partners are all like in fucking Portland doing their own guys trip. And so we're all like, hey, hall pass? Question mark, maybe? And they're in Portland, so they're stoned, and they're like, yeah, sure. We're like, all right, cool, yay.
Bueno, I don't want to, rush you all, but we have gone over by a little bit, and I do have another meeting coming up, so I'm gonna wrap it up. I don't know if anybody, I feel like we've talked about it a lot, but does anyone have any like pending final thoughts they just really need to get out there?
I just feel like it'd be really fun if we did one of those writing challenges. I think something I would like us to do as a romantic challenge sprint for 2025 is we like come up with a scenario as a group, and then we all write like a chapter of something. And I think that'd be really fun because I do want to try to like actually do more stuff this year. And Portland was a lot of fun when we went. So I think I don't write romance and I don't write smut, but I want to. I really think it'd be so fun to try.
Yes.
So,
okay.
I think if we pick a scenario like this, if this is the scenario and we each write a chapter of like what it would be like if we were with our celebrity in this room and like how that would happen, I think that'd be so fun.
Yeah. Okay. It could be like a convention that would explain why so many celebrities are nearby. You know what I mean? We'll talk about it, but that doesn't sound like a bad challenge, and I'd be down to do it like as a little project between the three of us.
Handle en el gonki. It's in PR.
Y se va la luz, so the computer, they can't check the computer and they accidentally give people the wrong keys to the wrong rooms.
That is extremely and tragically plausible.
That could happen. That could happen. Okay.
Good.
That's my final thought. I think that would be really fun.
Okay. Excellent. Wait, what else is everybody reading?
Wait. I'm like, I'm not reading anything. I'm like, oh wait, no, I'm reading the second Gossip Girl book. I'm reading Gossip Girl. I'm reading You Know You Love Me, the second in the Gossip Girl book series.
Amazing.
I just started reading a nonfiction book about the origins and like features of reality television. It's called Cue the Sun. I don't remember who it's by. Hang on, let me open up my Libby app. Cue the Sun: The Invention of Reality TV by Emily Nussbaum, winner of the Pulitzer Prize. And it's about reality TV. Nonfiction Book Club has picked it as a January pick, and so on Friday, I started just kind of like putting a bunch of books on hold. This one came through right away on my Libby, and it's really interesting. I feel like I'm kind of getting back into like my reading groove. I was reading a lot more nonfiction and fiction in general, and I finished a couple of books in rapid succession. So this one's the one that's coming up next. So that's what I'm reading. I'm really intrigued to see, because I know that we all kind of watch different iterations of reality TV. I watch a lot of now with my partner Reed, I watch a lot of like competition shows. I love cooking competitions. That's kind of like my flavor of reality TV. But I know that some of us are more into like the dating shows or the chaotic dating shows or the Hills, like those kinds of things. Keeping up with the Kardashians. So yeah, and then we all have had our we've watched a dating show. I feel at one point we watched, Ray and I watched The Ultimatum, and so I've just been more curious about it, and I was intrigued by this book, so I chose it, and I just started it. I don't know if it's any good, but it does sound really interesting.
Nice. Yeah, I've barely been reading with the move and everything, but I just started Wrapped Up in You, which is a Christmas novella by Talia Hibbert. I feel like in past years, like fall leading up to Christmas, I'm like, ooh, I want some like cozy fall books. Ooh, I want to read a Christmas book. I feel like this year I did not read a single cozy fall book. I have not read any Christmas books. So this will be my first. I only have a limited number of days left. So, but it's very short. It's very short. So that's what I'm reading now. And I have a bunch of things on hold at the library, but I don't really have any big plans for the rest of my reading year. Whatever I get to, and whatever. I'm not like trying to, we'll just see what happens. My reading's a little bit all over the place. But I guess next month will be my turn again. Because I'm doing the first month in each quarter. So if you didn't like my pick this month, sucks for you, because you have to listen to another one of my picks. But for those of you listening or watching, I'm going with a very specific theme next year, and every single one of my books has some type of monster lover. And I use the word monster very like, broadly to include like paranormal things, but also like actual monsters. So my book for January is The City in Glass by, Chris, how do you say it? Nevo? Okay, cool. So my book for January is The City in Glass by Nevo. We've read this author before. We read, you may remember the Tiger Wife book, which was also my pick, but I feel like we all really enjoyed. So this is a full-length novel by that same author, and it involves an angel and a demon who are, I think, actual enemies to lovers, with more enemy than loving. So I'm very excited. Very different vibes from this month's book. But I'm excited to read, and I'm excited to discuss with you all next month. Let's start our 2025 off with a celestial bang. Literally. I mean, I hope.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, is that it?
Yep, that's it. Just say goodbye. Just say goodbye.
Thank you for tuning in to our slightly long and slightly chaotic hangout. I had a really good time. I hope that you had a great time. Thank you for supporting us this year. Thank you for listening and watching us for a whole other year. Or if you're new, then I hope you will stick around for next year too. We have a lot of good books coming down the pipeline. So until next month.
Thank you for making it to the end of our episode and spending some time with us. Thank you for making it to the end of another great reading year. We read so many good things. We had so many good conversations. And like Andrea said, if you've been with us from the beginning or just joining us now, we just really appreciate you being here. You can support Only Lovers Book Club for free by subscribing to our shows and sharing our episodes. You can give us a like wherever you're listening or watching. So if you're on YouTube, you can like this. If you're listening on Spotify, you can like it and you can leave us a comment. Don't forget to rate or review. It really helps us. It helps people find us. And we just really appreciate it. And we love you for it. XOXO. You can become our supporter on Ko-fi or buy some books from our bookshop. All of those links are in the description box. You can follow us on Instagram at Only Lovers Book Club.